Hello and welcome back to another fun Coriander Quilts Saturday. I'm happy to have all of you joining me here today. And let us know where you are from and what you are drinking. We want to know what your Saturday morning beverage of choice is. I read so many comments that say you like to grab your coffee and then watch your Saturday morning shows. So let us know what your favorite drink is. Maybe your favorite springtime drink if it changes throughout the year, or your standard. I am a 1 cup of coffee in the morning girl. So in the mornings when I get up, I have my cup of coffee and that kind of starts my day off. So let us know if you do the same. We've got a lot on the agenda for today, so we are going to dive right in. I'm first of all sharing the May $5 pattern of the month. I'm a little bit early sharing this, but it is marked down already today over in my Etsy shop. So along with the April $5 pattern of the month, which was that freshly cut mini quilt, you can still grab that one for $5 through the end of the month, but you can also now grab the May one. I'm putting the May one up just a little bit early this month because my Etsy shop is going to be closed from May 3rd through May 10th. So from next Saturday to the following Saturday. I will be out of town, and so my shop will be closed. So I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to purchase the May pattern ahead of that little 1 week closing time in the shop if you wanted to. After the 10th, I'll open my Etsy shop back up again, and you can of course get the May $5 pattern at that time. And it will be $5 through the end of May. So this is what I have chosen for the May $5 pattern of the month. It is Barn Star 7, originally made using coriander colors. I will also have mock-ups of this quilt made using some other fabric lines that are in quilt shops right now, so you can see what it would look like using something different. This is a charm pack friendly quilt, and it finishes at 40 inches square. So a charm pack, and then you would need some background fabric, border fabric, binding, and backing to make your Barn Star 7 quilt. If you are following along with the Callie & Co mystery block of the month, you have been making a lot of half square triangles and are probably very proficient at them by this point in time. So this quilt uses a whole bunch more half square triangles. These are a little bit roomier than the ones we are using for the mystery block of the month. So if you are enjoying making those half square triangles, this might be just the ticket. So Barn Star 7 is the May $5 pattern of the month over in the Coriander Quilts Etsy shop, and I do have it linked in the description box below. So that is the first thing I wanted to share today. The next few things I'm sharing are some more fun viewer quilts. You guys have not disappointed in sending in your viewer quilts. We have so many fun ones to share. It's taking a bit of time to get through them because they just keep rolling in, and Nicole and I get to see all of your fun projects, which has just been a real treat. First up, Linda from Alaska. She says, I was introduced to buttercup and slate fabrics when I received a Jolly Bar from Fat Quarter Shop shortly after the line hit the stores. I fell in love with it immediately and bought a Fat Quarter bundle and a big bunch of the cheater panel. Over the years, as I browsed online shops' sales, some of the large prints would somehow end up in my cart. I probably have enough of that line of fabric for at least 2 more large quilts. A couple weeks ago, so this would be more than a couple weeks ago at this point in time, maybe 2 months ago, I saw a video on Blue Rooster Farms channel offering a table topper pattern called Oh Shamrock Table Topper. Being of Irish descent, this one caught my attention, and I remembered the pretty greens of buttercup and slate. I immediately started on the table topper, then realized it would end up too large for my little table. Oh well, I thought, I'll just make it a small quilt with a few more blocks. I cut enough for 9 shamrocks, enough to make a nice cuddle quilt. Somehow along the way, my mind changed several times. I now have a single shamrock table topper, 3 shamrocks on my breakfast bar, 4 shamrocks as the pattern was designed hanging on my wall, and 1 more block that will probably end up as a pillow. Thanks, Corey, for keeping me smiling in your videos and sharing your talent with us all. So I thought that was so fun. And I also thought her narration of her projects was pretty comical. I think we've all probably been there where we start and it goes this direction, then it meanders a little bit and takes a sharp right, and we end up somewhere down the road, maybe similar to what we had planned, but probably a little bit different from our original intentions. At least I know I have had that happen when I am working on projects. Joyce says, "Hi Cori and Nicole. While searching Pinterest for flower block patterns to make a sampler quilt, I found your Springbrook Blossoms blocks on your YouTube channel. I used my stash to try the first block and had so much fun I kept going. Then I decided instead of making a quilt, I would make a flower garden for my wall so I could see it every day. Since then, I look forward to watching your channel every Saturday and also catching up on videos I have not seen. I am even working along with you on the Callie & Co. Mystery Block of the Month. Thank you for all the valuable information that you share." Those Springbrook Blossoms, it's a little bit of a tongue twister to say, those Springbrook Blossoms quilt blocks are still available for free over on the Coriander Quilts blog. So if that's something you'd want to make, whether just these adorable little wall hanging like what Joyce did, or if you wanted to make the larger quilt, those patterns are still available for you to download. So I'll make sure and link those below as well. Next up, we have Becky Thompson. Becky has a YouTube channel, Power Tools with Thread, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I'm pretty sure she does a daily live video every morning, at least through the weekdays. I'm not sure about the weekends. Maybe you guys can respond and let me know for certain. But she's very regular and very active here on YouTube. So Power Tools with Thread is her YouTube channel. And she sent in an adorable chicken quilt and said, "Hi, Cori. I wanted to share with you my chickens quilt using your line Peachy Keen. This pattern is from Cluck Cluck Sew, and I knew your fabric would make beautiful chickens. The pattern again is Chickens by Cluck Cluck Sew. It is 100% pieced with no applique. Becky used a fat quarter bundle of Peachy Keen. She says, I loved the gray stripe for the nests, so I ordered extra of that, and the green for the binding. Background fabric is from the line. The pattern comes in 3 sizes, and I made the medium at 54 by 60. I chose a feather long arm pattern to complement the chicken feathers. The quilting pattern is Feather Delight from Inside My Pro Stitcher Robotics." So I will also make sure and link to that Cluck Cluck Sew pattern because that is adorable. I know we have a lot of chicken fans. Quilters tend to be very animal lovers, whether it's chickens, cats, sheep, dogs, you name it. I think quilters and the love of animals seem to go hand in hand. So that is an adorable quilt. And that's my last one for today. For some reason, I thought I had another to share, but that is the last one. I have Nicole's email address linked below if you want to send in any viewer projects to share with everybody who's watching. If they're made using my fabrics or my patterns, I always look forward to seeing those and sharing those here on the channel. So I am going to clear things off a little bit. If you have seen these layer cakes kind of peeking to the side as I've been chatting, I'm going to be sharing these at the end of the video, and these come with a giveaway, so be sure and stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to chat about both of those. Before we do that, I have a couple viewer questions and some more panel information that I'm going to be sharing with you. I recently chatted about these OmniGrid Fussy Cut template rulers in a video. I did a demo and showed how I used these to cut apart the cross stitch motifs for my Abloom panel. This Abloom panel, as well as all of the fabrics in the collection, are in quilt shops right now, and these rulers were the ones that I used on my new quilt patterns that feature the Abloom panel. So I have 2 new quilt patterns, Yesteryear and Handiwork, that both use this panel. So I wanted to share the rulers that I had used to cut these apart. I've designed panels in a number of my fabric lines, and I'm kind of picky about the rulers that I like to use. There's no wrong or right answer about how you cut apart motifs like this in a panel. It really comes down to what works best for you, what's most convenient, what do you have on hand, how much do you want to invest in rulers, those sorts of questions that we encounter as quilters. For me, when I am cutting apart panels, I really like to have exactly the ruler in the size I need to cut for that panel. And sometimes that means I am buying a ruler just for the purpose of cutting apart a panel. So that might be a little bit of a different approach than people take. I don't tend to like to have a lot of extra rulers, but I am particular with my panel rulers. And again, that doesn't mean that I'm making the best choice for everybody. It's just the way I like to approach it. So when I was talking about these rulers and sharing that tutorial, Carmen Hoffman had a question asking why I didn't use a different ruler that I've mentioned here on the channel. I was really glad that she asked me that question because I had a follow-up question from Jeannie Brown, and she was wondering what size you can cut these motifs out. What's the largest size that you can cut them out? So in my projects, I was cutting them a bit smaller, and so you know, how big can we actually cut these out if we wanted to go the largest that we could? Carmen's question, I'm going to read that first, and it allows me to answer Jeannie's question all in one swipe. So let's do that. Carmen says, why wouldn't you just cut the squares out using the square up ruler? I ordered them after you mentioned them in a previous video. I've bought both of these patterns and I'm just... Oh, maybe that's not what she's asking. Huh. I am rereading this question and I think I might have misunderstood Carmen's question. It's a good question either way. Okay, so I think I misunderstood you, Carmen. I'm going to answer it both ways. I actually answered this already in the video 2 weeks ago, and I answered it the way I read it, but yeah, she's not asking what I thought she was. So I'm going to answer it both ways. So she is asking, why didn't I just use these rulers to cut out the squares after I marked them? So when you watch the video tutorial, you're going to see that these are used for marking, but then you have to move the ruler and to use it to cut apart. And you can use these rulers. You can mark it. Go watch the video if you haven't already, because that's going to make a lot more sense what I'm saying. You can mark it like I did and then move the ruler and cut it with these rulers. The reason I didn't is because I just love using my Quilter Select. So you would have seen me grab my Quilter Select ruler and use this then to cut everything apart. They're so grippy. And since I've been using these for years, I find when I try to switch to something different, something that doesn't have grip or something that only has a little bit of grip, I'm a little slidier than I used to be. And so that's why I grabbed my Quilter Select after I marked it, just to cut everything apart. So that's what Carmen actually was asking. So now when you read my response to her comment, you're probably thinking, what in the world is Cori on about? But now I'm going to say what I thought she was asking and answer that question too, because that's also a helpful question. Carmen, you didn't know that you were actually asking two very good questions, but let me answer this too then. I thought she was asking, why didn't I just use my Square It Up ruler? So this is another ruler that I have that I bought to cut 14.5-inch squares that I needed for, it was that hymn tea towel quilt. I've talked about it a number of different times here. This is the ruler that I bought to square up those tea towels. And I thought she was asking, why didn't I just use this ruler since I already had it? My answer to her was because this ruler didn't have the exact size that I needed it to cut that these other rulers did have. I think I was cutting at, let me look, I was cutting at 7 inches square. And so it's kind of an unusual size to cut at. And this ruler is just in like 1/2-inch sizes, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5 to finish at those full inch measurements. So that's why I didn't use this ruler. But I wanted to show that you can use this ruler if you wanted to go bigger and use a different measurement than what my patterns call for. So if you wanted to use these panel motifs in a different project and you weren't necessarily, fussy about your rulers or whatever, you could use this. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, that makes me laugh. That makes me laugh, that question. Okay, I think we're on the same page now. But so this is the Square It Up and Fussy Cut. It is designed by Penny Herron. It's a Creative Grids ruler. And it works great too, especially if you wanted to cut it at those half-inch measurements like I was saying. So what I found out is the very largest size that you could cut this panel apart would be in 8.5-inch pieces. And that's pushing it. And I'm going to tell you why. So you're not going to be able to see this. So I'm just going to use my finger and point here. I've marked a couple of these already. It works just the same as these other ones where it has those little holes that you mark, and then you can line up your ruler and cut the size that you need based on your little markings, just little holes. So this works the same way. I have a marking right here. It is, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch away from the little fluffy thread side, and it is actually probably a good 1/4 inch on the outside edge of those little dots, those little holes that you have in the edge of your selvages. So if I were to cut this square at 8.5, I would have enough fabric to do it, but I would have some of those dots. It's not close enough to those dots that it's going to get taken up in the selvage. So there would be some of those dots in my selvage edge blocks. So you can do 8.5, but you are going to encounter that some of your blocks are going to be in this little selvage edge. The same thing happens on the other side. So these other blocks that are on the other side, oh, you guys can't see that. These other blocks that are on the other side, they're going to be the same way, where sometimes they're just going to go kind of into that little edge, and these really colorful little selvage pieces, you might even see some of those when you cut your block. So be aware of that, but all of these interior squares, you can do 8.5. You do have to pay attention to if you have enough room on your cut edge. This is cut as 1 yard. If it's cut in a 1 yard increment, you get the full panel. But depending on how that top edge and bottom edge are cut, you might have a little bit less down here. So 2 things to keep in mind, your little selvage edge and what might happen at the top and bottom. Keeping in mind, I did not design this panel to be cut at 8.5. That's why you saw me cutting it smaller in that video tutorial. They are, you know, it's gonna work best a little bit smaller so that you have room to get around everywhere that you need to, and you don't run into any issues on your selvages or the top and bottom of your panel. But it's nice to know that if you want to, you can pretty much get 8.5 out of a lot of these pieces. So let me flatten this up so I can show you how this ruler would work on this square right here. So say I wanted to fussy cut this little piece out at 8.5 inches square. It has a beautiful marking here in the center, a nice square, and then these diagonal lines line up really nicely with the X's in the cross stitch. So I can really nicely, this green fits right inside this 6-inch mark all the way around this edge right here. So I can center that up. I can center up my diagonals so nicely. And then all we need to do is mark our little pencil dots at 8.5, which runs right here. So a little pencil dot here. For the last tutorial, I think I was using one of those Dritz water-soluble blue marking pens. I really like using those. Today I just have a pencil handy. So there we go. So now these are my dots. I should use a different color so I can differentiate them. So here is where my dot is for this piece over here, right here. And then right here, so about a 1/2 inch away, is where my dot is for this piece right here. Same up here, this is the dot right here for this block, and then about a 1/2 inch away for this block here. Down here, I had marked this bottom block right here, so again, 1/2 inch away. Here's the one for this block, and then for this block. So we're looking I don't know the best way to show that to you. Maybe if I just put a little ruler on there. So here's my my Quilter's Select ruler. This is 1/2 inch right here. So you can see that we have about 1/2 inch in between where those two blocks are. So plenty of room in the interior portion, a little bit fussy out here in your selvage edges. So then the next thing that you would do would be just like that tutorial I shared 2 weeks ago, where you would just cut using, you can use this ruler. This one does have nice grippy dots on the back of it. So you can use this ruler and cut everything apart. Or you can grab a favorite ruler like I did when I shared. That was a good question, Carmen. I think I've got you answered. But these are not, they have a little bit of a different texture where that frosted portion is, but not as grippy as these dots are on the creative grids. So something to keep in mind. You can certainly, you know, cut however you want to, swap it completely out for something different. We all have our preferences. So that is a quick update on the Square It Up ruler, a completely different answer to Carmen's question than she was asking, I think. I think I've got it right. And if I didn't, I answered it both ways. So hopefully I hit it with one of those answers. And then that does answer Jeannie Brown's question too. 8.5 is the very largest that I think you could go, keeping in mind that you might not be able to get quite all of the panel pieces out of 8.5, but pretty close. You could certainly do 8 inches. 8 inches would give you, I don't think you'd run into trouble then on your selvages. You might have a little bit of those thread dots, but they should get sewn up into your selvage. So this was one I cut here. So this is what it was at 8.5. I'm just going to draw on this a little bit here. Here is where the 2 lines of dots, those little fabric dots, are at. And if I had come in, you know, I would have another 1/4 inch in if this was cut at 8 inches, which would mean that these dots would be absorbed into my seam allowance. So 8 inches for sure. 8.5 if you're feeling like you're living on the edge with your cutting. I don't necessarily have a problem putting those little dots in my project. Of course, if I'm not going to try to put them into my projects, but if they happen to roll on in there, I'm not too heartbroken about it. But I know some people don't like having those little selvage, I don't know what they are, thread holes. I'm not exactly sure. Sometimes you can kind of scratch them out a little bit that they're not super noticeable. Just depends on the piece of fabric. But okay, so kind of a lot of words there. I hope all of that made sense. That was funny. That was a funny answer to that question. If you have any questions, you can feel free to leave them for me. I'll do my best to understand. But you can see sometimes what I read and what you wrote don't always line up. All right, so that was what I wanted to say about that. I'm going to move on to a little bit more chatter about these panels. So I have taken one of those panel squares that I cut out of the panel, and I have started stitching using my Aurifil threads. These are both from the A Bloom thread box that I chatted about recently. And I've just been stitching right on those little X's, and it is turning out so cute, and it is quite a bit of fun to do. I'm going to use this in that project bag tutorial that I chatted about. So once I get this stitched up, then I can film that video and make an adorable little project pouch using this little stitched up panel square. I like to use an embroidery needle when I am stitching on fabric like this. I also like to use fusible, lightweight fusible interfacing to the back of the block to stitch through. I just find that it lays flatter. If there are any threads on the back that are loose, it doesn't tend to show through as much. And I just think it gives a nicer overall look. So the interfacing I'm using is just a Pellon lightweight fusible interfacing. I cut it to the same size as my panel square and then fuse it to the back and then stitch. And I do this before I would sew it into any project, and that way the interfacing is tucked into the seam allowance and everything stays nice and secure. The Bloom thread boxes, I did see a couple questions pop up. I don't know if they were here on YouTube or over in the Facebook group about where to purchase. These are in quilt shops. If you Google a Bloom thread box, you should have various online shops pop up for you, but you could also stop into your local quilt shop and ask them to purchase one for you. They'd be able to get them in. So a couple options there. Online, Aurifil Thread carries their thread boxes, so that's a nice option. But then of course, online quilt shops, it's great to support them as well. So the Bloom thread box, they are 10 spools and they are the 12 weight threads. So not like embroidery floss where you have multiple strands. This is one strand. It stays together, which means your threads lay nice and flat. It's really nice to embroider with or hand quilt with. I use it for both. And now we are going to move on to the giveaway that I mentioned, because who doesn't love a good giveaway? And this one is fun. So right now the fabric reps are showing a whole new batch of fabrics to quilt shop owners. These are going to be fabrics that will be in quilt shops in the fall. And I picked my two favorite, and I have a layer cake of each to share and show, and then to give away to two winners. So let me get those back on my table here. Two beautiful layer cakes. I love these. We're going to start with Sunbonnet. This is by Heather Briggs of My So Quilty Life. I'm just going to gently take this apart so that I can show you the fabrics in this line. This is such a beautiful line of fabric. And Heather also has designed the cutest panel that you will not want to miss. The name Sunbonnet gives the panel away a little bit. So if you're a quilter, you might know exactly what would be on that panel. But let's take a look at these prints. So we have some beautiful florals. Her palettes are always so soft and pretty. These pretty dusty pinks, light and dark. A really pretty white on cream, orange peel, it looks like. Little sunbonnets. A pretty little ditzy sort of tulip print. This is a little cross-stitch flower print. A pretty little ditzy, another one of those. And then we have ginghams. The orange peel on beige. A really pretty sort of cameo polka dot. A little stitched floral. Slide this way. Bring all of you guys over here. There we go. We have that little tulip print on pink. And then we have our large scale floral on the pink, two of those. That's so nice that you get the large scale floral in duplicate. Love that. That little cross stitch flower print on the pink. The ditzy floral on the pink, the little orange peel print, a gingham on the pink, and we have that cameo print, the sunbonnets on the pink, and a stripe. It's the first glimpse we're getting of the stripe in the collection. That's the stripe on pink. We have that orange peel on a light pink, gingham, two of the ginghams on the pink. And then that large print, two of those on the aqua background. This pretty little, sort of like a little stitchy. There's a lot of little stitching elements in this large scale print. She's got little X's on her leaves. This print has stitched on the leaves, and then the stems just look like little stitching. And then of course this print up here is very reminiscent of cross stitch. We have the tulips, little mini tulips there. The ditzy print on the aqua. The cameo polka dot. I'm calling that a cameo. Those just look like those little cameos. Sunbonnet hats. The stripe on aqua, perfect for bindings. Little orange peel print on the aqua. This is a really pretty dusty aqua. And there's 2 of those ginghams there. And then the little stitched flowers. This is the same print here as this print here, just in the aqua and white. Moving into our greens, we have the cross-stitch flowers on green, the little sunbonnet hats. This is the ditzy floral, just the white on green, so the same print here as what we saw up here, just in the smaller palette. And we have a green stripe, and then the green orange peel. So there is a look at this full collection. This is called Sunbonnet. Will be in shops in the fall. I will, in the description box, look up and see exactly which month this comes out, but it's a little bit of ways yet. And I will also link to where Heather shared all of her projects that she designed for this collection. She has some amazing projects, so I don't want you to miss out on seeing those. Really cute, some using that panel and some not using the panel, but lots of really cute patterns for this collection. All right, I'm gonna pack these away. So this collection again was called Sunbonnet, and this layer cake is going to be up for grabs on a super quick giveaway I'm hosting just this weekend. So you can finish watching this video, head over to my blog. I've got it linked in the description box below. You're going to want to leave a comment on today's blog post. To get to the comment box, you do have to scroll all the way down to the bottom, but that is where you will find the comment box, and you'll just leave a comment there. Make sure you include an accurate email address. It does ask you for your email address, so make sure you include that, and I notify winners via email. The giveaway is open today, which is Saturday, and tomorrow, the 27th. I'm going to close it tomorrow night, the 27th, April 27th. It's just a weekend giveaway. I am drawing the winner on Monday, April 28th. The reason it's a quick one is so that I can get this out in the mail before I head out for my week away I was talking about at the beginning of the video. So this is one of the layer cakes available, but we have 2 because I chose my 2 favorite collections from the new fabric lines that are coming out this fall for Moda. Okay, so this one is called Paper Hamlet. It's by Kathy Holden. And we'll open this one up and I'll show you these. I thought this was so pretty. I don't know if I could say which one of these 2 would be my most favorite. They're pretty different from each other, both flower filled and just both so pretty. So this one also has a really neat panel that's been designed to go with the collection. So many good panels. Today is just a panel-filled episode, isn't it? So Paper Hamlet, let's just start. Oh, I love these. I am a pretty big sucker for text prints on fabric, and this one not only has the text, it's got cute little things, little houses, little trees thrown in, and it's on a background. So the background of this fabric is also a newsprint text, and just beautiful. So there's 2 of these in this layer cake, and then we get more text print. We get texty flowers. And I just think it's so pretty. I love these colors. It's again on that newsprint background. I really like it. You're gonna get the idea that I really like this one as we go. This is the newsprinty sort of look. The smaller scale version is what it looks like this background is, a smaller version of this. That gives you an idea of what that looks like. And we have 2, 3 of those, which is awesome because that makes beautiful backgrounds. And then we have texty birds, texty vines on more text. It's just so fun. And look at these little houses. So there was 2 of those. Little houses on a viney background. We have 3 of those. Here we have, boy, I don't even know, all kinds of things. Birds' houses, flowers, little flower arrangements, all tucked in these little picture frames, again, on that text print background. For my little text-loving heart, this was perfect. There's 2 of those. Now we move into these pretty blues. So we have that bird print, 2 of those. A texty print on aqua, 2 of those. This little picture frame print with the blue background, 2 of those. Moving into the greens, it's just so pretty and so fun. There are 3 of those. And then the little viney print. So did we have this before? No, we haven't seen this one. Okay, so this is a viney print. There's still that newsprint texty business going on in the background, which I'm a fan of. It's a really pretty dark gray there. And then we have this kind of collage-y house print. I just think it's so clever. There are 3 of those. This beautiful floral on a dark blue, 3 of those. Then we just have these fun nighttime stars thrown in here. So it is stars on a text print background, like that. That would just be a really pretty background just across the board for a quilt with those little stars sprinkled around everywhere. The picture frame print on the dark blue. We've got the viney print on the dark blue. The birds on the dark blue. Oh, I haven't been saying how many. Okay, so there's 2 of those. We have 2 of those, 2 stars. I don't know if I said this one either. 2 of those. So 2 of everyone in this row here so far. The birds, we have 2. And then the words, we have, or I guess just the alphabet, 2 of those. And then we have 2 of this text print on the blue. So that is a look at this collection. Again, this is Paper Hamlet. I'll look up exactly what month it comes out a few months from now, but I'll have that linked below. I will also link to if there are any projects. I don't remember the projects for this collection, so I'll link to that if there are any so that you can see those. And this layer cake is also up for giveaway. So again, over to my blog and scroll all the way to the bottom. I've got the spot linked in the description box below this video. So it'll take you right over to where you need to be and then just scroll down to the bottom to leave your comment. And again, it's a quick giveaway, just open through Sunday evening, and then the winner will be drawn on Monday, April 28th. I will post the winner next Saturday, so a week from today. What is that, Saturday the 3rd? Yes, May 3rd. I'll post the winner on my blog, the 2 winners. There's 2 winners here. They'll both be posted, and we'll get these out in the mail for those people before I head out for the week. So I think that wraps everything up. This was kind of a newsy long video. I hope you have enjoyed the whole thing. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will catch you again next Saturday.